Hey, Sebastian. What's up, Philip? Oh, he's coming in. Now he can hear me. What's up, Philip?
Hello,
Hey, how
Emma.
goes Factorio? I can hear you.
I have on Alt Tab factor you're running.
Yeah, good for you, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's already evening for me, so
Yeah, I downloaded Path of Exile again the other night, which is a ARPG.
no Path of Exile.
That's a game I can't just play. I have to binge.
Yeah, it is. I played once, and compared to Diablo, it's too complicated for me.
Yeah, it's wild stuff.
Hello, how's it going?
Hello. All good, all good. Quick question. Am I allowed to be here today, or I need to leave as well?
You're super allowed today, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we had talked about maybe doing some private stuff, but I think that'd be a trailer, not
Yeah,
doing this.
maximum, yeah.
I did go have lunch. Yeah, we're getting everybody now. We just broke from another meeting that we were a lot of us were in like 15 minutes ago. So taking it back up.
Yeah, and sorry I'm late because I actually had a meeting in between those two meetings. Yeah. Okay. Do we have an agenda yet?
I haven't pulled one up. Let me take a peek. I haven't looked at anything yet. Discussions.
Oh yeah, the bot's still not working. I think John, you made last week's meeting, didn't you?
Yeah. I just like carried over. What did I do last time? I just searched by labels, meeting, TC agenda.
Are you doing it again? Just so that
I
we
think
make
so,
sure, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Jeez, I always forget the GitHub syntax.
So I had a topic that I had actually maybe a couple of topics that came up from the collab summit and conference week.
Yeah.
That I'd love to take a quick second on.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. I can let me
Oh,
cut
you're
and
just ready. I didn't know if you wanted me to add them once you create it, or I can list them if you
what
tell
I'm
me.
going to do is I'll create a TC meeting doc for minutes, and we can just share that real quick. Uh,
Let me know when you're ready for me to list a couple.
yeah, this should. Oops. Copy link. Boom. You can throw some stuff in here. I'll cut an issue in a second.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Oh, I need added access.
Oh, it should be anyone with link.
You know what?
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Now
I
it's
probably
anybody.
under the wrong account. I think I'm in.
No, I
Chrome.
did it wrong. I literally did it wrong. The way I do these, which this isn't recorded, so but I just I share a meeting link, a minutes link with anybody can edit that has the link. So then I try to remember to go back and revoke that access at the end of it, so they can't get clobbered.
Wait, so oh, there we go. I refreshed now and it changed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just come down here. We have the Cloudflare account. We have there's some work to discuss on the actually I think there maybe was one more. So, but yeah, if anybody else has topics to add.
Here's a link to TC agenda of tag issues. It's one of those things you don't realize how useful the automation is until it's not here.
Even though it's half broken at the time, it's still valuable enough to keep us on track. Oh, I knew there was another one. This one's not necessarily all that great, but
Are you writing the one? Oh, okay. Do we want to add tide lift?
I have yet to get an answer following up from the conversation. Maybe we should just do a quick brief chat about it. Yeah, okay. Just to give folks an update on where we're at with that discussion.
Did my links come through? No.
Okay, so can we put out a last call for topics here? If anybody has any, go add them to the agenda. Just manually write whatever you want, and we can do a quick prioritization.
I see code mod repository. I'm looking at the issue list. Using engines and package.json, which is an ADR discussion. Caret, ADR, logo. Those are the main things I see basically. We do have Sebastian and Philip here though, if we want to talk about code mod stuff. Basically in the last meeting, Philip was there and we talked about the code mod stuff, and basically we're happy to host it eventually into Express. I opened an issue just saying like, hey, just please add a license
John,
file.
Hey, John, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we just make it a little bit more official here? I actually, maybe can I start really quick with, early on, we were trying to be a little bit more structured in our meetings, and we have slowly lost that. And there is value in keeping that structure. I would like to propose that we try to move back toward that structure a bit, so that we both save ourselves some time. And also, I think one of the things that we're going to be battling as a group is some of us are a little bit more talkative than others, in a very lovely way. No, this is not a criticism, but you know, we tend to go over on things, and it's not exactly I think the best use of everyone's time. And especially as the group grows and we have more folks involved who you know, either have more or less context about what we're doing, having the structure is going to help people keep a lot better track of where we are. And so I would just like to propose that we go back to what we had done originally, which is build an agenda, prioritize the agenda, and then execute the agenda, and don't have a bunch of extraneous conversations about it beforehand. So if we want to talk about that first, that's great, but let's like kick off the meeting and be like pretty crisp about it and try to use hands. The other thing is, let's all try to use hands and queue up the hands so that we actually are like giving each other space to speak about the topics. Does that sound, is anybody opposed to trying to go back to the more structured approach? I see thumbs up, but no thumbs down. So, okay, if we're all good with that, then can we quickly do just around, does anybody, so we wanted to do the code mods first to make sure we got to it and didn't get distracted. Anything else? So this one I think is a little time sensitive. I'm going to bump it up. This one is also time sensitive. And then I think the STF stuff is also time sensitive. Can we just include these together and just call it, all the STF work? Okay. If folks are all right with this agenda, then I'll just do a kickoff and then, because then we have the cut moment for the recording. Okay, cool. Okay, hey everybody, welcome to the Express Technical Committee meeting for November 11th. We have an agenda and a issue that we just created to get us started. We do hope to someday get the automation fixed so that this is available in advance. But we're going to be a little bit more structured than we have in the past few and try to bring back some of our rigor. So we're going to use hands in this meeting. I'd also recommend that folks turn on captions with their language, because I think we have a few folks who are quite a bit more comfortable speaking Spanish in the call today, and we just want to be respectful and make sure everybody can both have their voice heard and also understand and process everything that is going on. So. And we may even take a few moments to Ulysses did a really awesome job in the triage team meeting 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, helping make sure that we are doing a good job translating for both ourselves and the recording. So yeah, so if at any point, Ulysses, you want to pause somebody and jump in and help with that, I think let's just all be open to making sure that happens. Okay. Anyway, so into the agenda. First thing is announcements. Does anybody have anything? Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay. No announcements. Cool. So let's jump right in. Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I forgot. I have some announcements. We did some releases like in the last 2 weeks. There are some releases pending. The ones for Express are pending for a security patch, so it might take a little bit. So that's why, because some people ask on the PRs and stuff, I moved those to draft. And the other two, which I think is for compression, and another one, I will try to release them probably tomorrow / Wednesday.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're going to jump right into the code mods topic. We talked a little bit about this last time. John, I don't know if you wanted to, since you were doing the recap, would you mind doing that recap now?
Yeah, we just briefly talked about it in the last meeting. Just since we haven't, we could check in about it. But so we talked about having code mod repo. We basically were like, let's have people sign up to actually work on it before we bring it into Express. Sebastian and I believe Philip have been working on it. So there's a repo that exists. We talked in the last meeting about like, okay, cool. Like, why not? We can pull that into Express at some point in the near future if people are willing to pull it to give it to Express, basically the org. So with that, I don't have the issue in front of me right now, but I'd opened up an issue basically saying like, cool, like if you guys are into this, we can do that. We'll just need to have at least like a README, a license file, and then also we need to like just test it a little bit. Basically, Philip was suggesting, he's like, yeah, like we need to actually make sure it works well. Doesn't need to be perfect, but yeah. So I don't think anybody's opposed to that or whatever. But I mean, we didn't even check in with Sebastian about if he's open to it. The way that works is I think like there's a handoff where like I forget how it actually works in GitHub, but the owner of the repo has to initiate that anyways. But there's no rush on that. But like there's code mods being written, being built, and if it's in Express, people can come and contribute to it if they want to. So that's an option that's open to y'all if you guys want to do that. So things there, yeah. Philip, link the issues.
So I think the question is Sebastian as the original author here of the repo, and then Philip as the another contributor. Are you all feeling good about making that an official Express project, we would, obviously you'd have all the same permissions to, edit and publish as you would normally. We would just have to have some of these like checkboxes checked to make sure it fits the requirements of the foundation and Express project.
Sebastian, do you go first or should I? Sorry, I didn't hear anything. Microphone was.
You can type in chat, Sebastian, if you want. You don't have to. You don't have
Yeah.
to use your. But
Oh.
your mic. It was hard to hear you. It was garbled. So.
No se te escucha bien. No. Yeah, it's a mic. There are some mic issues. 1 second. Sebastian has some Mac problems, so
Maybe Philip, maybe you can go ahead and go first.
Yeah, so I know that there is a work in progress merge request about license and README. After we merge that, we probably can share it to all of the people. I don't have any blockers on me. I have one pending merge request, but I just before the meeting, I noticed that it's from version 3 to 5 migration, and we are working on version 4 to 5. So totally fine if version 4 is covered with the deprecated stuff, and no more updates from my side.
yeah, Sebastian confirms that he's happy with the move of the repository when the files are there. So yeah, in the meantime, we will fix the mic problem.
Great. So it sounds like we're pretty all agreed here. We can do that whenever you all are ready. From an administrative standpoint, yeah, I think what John said is right. We think you all have to initiate the transfer from the Sebastian from your side. And then I think the entire TC will get an email. And so, if anybody sees that and wants to, click the buttons to make it happen, we're all good. Oh, there is one thing. We just have to make a team. I don't know if there's a bunch of examples in there. I think most of them are called repo name -collaborators or something. And then you have to add the right people with right access. So if you're the one who clicks the buttons, just, preferably try to follow the existing examples. Absolutely that. Yeah. I mean, we don't have to publish it right away. It doesn't have to be complete. It just needs to have the license and the code of conduct and the README. Those are the ones. Oh, John, I think we maybe missed. It needs to have the code of conduct as well. I can comment if that's. Okay. We're good. Anybody have anything else on that? We can move on. Okay. So I will, Jean, we've been outdone. So Jean and I were at dinner, and Jean was making this nice AI logo for the V5 release. We were playing around with different ideas around this train theme because it was fun. But unfortunately, I think we've put ourselves in a bit of an interesting spot. So I was informed that there's a fairly prevalent usage of folks using auto block bots and moderation techniques around folks who use AI art. And there's some interesting ethical questions as an open source project using AI in general, but specifically AI art here that I personally, this is why I wanted to bring it up here. I would prefer if we drop that little train and figure out how to pay an artist. To even if it's we use the same theme and we move forward with that, I think that might be, that could be fine. But I just wanted to propose that we have some small discussion around how folks feel about that. I don't want people stealing our work, and so it would be, I think, unfortunate if we then went and stole somebody else's work. And it is impossible to use AI to generate art without stealing other people's work. That's just fundamentally part of how that was built. And so I just wanted to bring it up and get folks' thoughts on what we want to do moving forward there. Yeah, Jean.
Yeah, just wanted to add that it will be the same for everything. Like not art is one topic, but technically will be the same for every line of code, every text, and pretty much everything. So this statement, and I do agree on specific use case, especially not competing on an art like competition with AI or stuff like that, I would agree 100%. But saying that we extend that to everything, including logo, would say that no one part of this meeting, TC, or having a contribution on Express should have Copilot, Claude 3.5, or any AI on anything, not just a logo, but any line of code being reviewed, no one using like advanced intelligence almost. So that was just that. On my side, to be honest, I did it for fun, so I don't have an issue on removing that. Logo to, yeah, not an issue. But I'm not sure that this would be the exact way. If it was, oh, we nominated a design that was done by an AI on a competition to choose a new Express logo, I would agree. On this one, to be honest, I don't really care, but I do like your train, so. Yeah, Luis is.
Yeah, I think we can use this logo as a prototype of the final logo. So I mean, we like the design, right? Or the idea of the design. So maybe we can ask for a designer to actually make that happen as a official logo, also vectorize and a bunch of technical things that make sense. So later on we can just print cool stickers and stuff like that. Hopefully. We should save some budget for that. In the future?
That was part of what I wanted to talk about, was like, we had very informally, like so informally done this process. Like as soon as I got the feedback that it was, both maybe going to get us blocked by a bunch of these auto blockers, but also had some, ethical concerns that frankly feel misaligned with how we do open source as well. I felt like it was worth bringing up, because before we print shirts, like I want to print shirts with something. And I want to, like Matteo gave me a Fastify shirt, and I want to be able to return the favor to him and give him an Express shirt. And so I was hoping to do that rather soon. And Jean and I had been discussing using the this, train logo. So, and I used it, I mean, it's my whole slides for my talk I just gave. So I feel a little bit in retrospect, that I made a mistake or whatever. But then to Jean's point, I wanted to just reply, having a philosophical standpoint on something could be great if we all decided we were pretty aligned. But in the effort to never vote on anything, it seems very unlikely that we will be able to make a philosophical standpoint, like you said, about not using copilots and stuff like that. And so to me, I would rather not try to take a philosophical standpoint from the project level like that. And so if we as a team agree that maybe, we'd rather pay an artist, but we're not going to try to make a statement, that to me would be a fine outcome from this discussion. Also, if everybody wanted to make a statement, because I hate that we've set up this world where we're just stealing all of my work, right? All of my work on GitHub over the past 10 years, unpaid, is stolen by these bots. And I frankly hate it. And I really disapprove of what GitHub is doing. And by extension, unfortunately, Microsoft and OpenAI with this work. But again, that's my personal opinion. And I don't think the project needs to be driven by that unless we all agree, because again, the governance is about consensus. And so anyway, I'll step off my horse there.
I don't care much about our logo. We can personally, like, if we don't want to use the AI generated one, it's fine. Our existing logo isn't great, but I think it's low priority. So I'm fine to not use the train logo if that's what we want to decide from this meeting, but I don't care. I don't want to wade into using AI or not on the project. I think we're not going to get to that basically. But yeah, if we drop, Wes, you're suggesting we drop the train logo? Is that what it is?
That was my suggestion. Yeah. So I had made it on like the one account, and that was where I got this feedback. So I'm going to drop it from there. I can't retroactively drop my slides, and that talk is out there or will be soon. But the idea is like, let's have a discussion now so that we don't go print t-shirts and stickers with it. Like, let's maybe set some budget aside for next year. If we could even tell people, hey, we want to do this. Can you go sign up to, yeah, that's where I got the feedback. Ulysses was on Blue Sky. So I want to remove it from that and just make it the EX or the E or whatever. But then specifically, I would like to, think about what swag we want soon. And so I didn't want us to not have this discussion until then, because, and even Jean and I had discussed maybe just getting some one-offs printed. So I just wanted to make sure we covered it. Does anybody else have anything on this, or can we move on? It sounds like nobody's opposed to dropping the logo, but then we can, if we ever want to have a rediscussion around use of AI and ethical dilemmas of the project, like, let's do that later. Okay. Sweet. So moving on, another slightly contentious one, tide lift. So I'll talk about this a little bit. So I had a conversation with Matteo and mentioned that we had been starting to sign up for it, and he made it clear that we were in a gray area when it comes to the foundation. So there is a reading of the Tidelift contract that is a service contract, and that reading is against the rules in the foundation. That may not always be true, but it is today. Well, again, it's a gray area. So this is part of the problem. So Matteo was saying his risk tolerance is not accepting of being on Tidelift for anything. But he said one of the things we have, which is a little different, is all of these sub packages. So it's possible that there could be a reading of it that as long as we're signing up to lift the sub packages and not Express, then we're not violating the terms of the OpenJS Foundation. So there's a gray area. So I wanted to bring it up. There's a few things we could do. I think all of them would probably be preemptive until we get an answer from the foundation. But if there's any questions folks have, because I also thought we had talked about this with the foundation and gotten the approval. So like maybe somebody remembers something that we were unable to remember at the time that was like a document that we could point to. So I just wanted to bring it up and see, what folks wanted. So yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. I mean, I'll say I don't know what the Mateo's talking about, but there are other OpenJS Foundation projects that are on Tidelift, so we would certainly not be unique in that, and that wouldn't give me any pause. So I think it's fine. We're also about halfway through time, by the way.
So as long as everybody's aware, I just wanted to make that like it almost was more of an announcement. There is some risk there. If anybody's concerned about it, we should have probably an offline conversation with Robin and Ben to make sure that we're all aligned on what the real details are of it. But again, to Chris's point, other people have been doing it. I thought we were fine. I think we all thought we were fine. So maybe we just let it lie. But if anybody has any other comments on that, feel free to. speak up. Okay, we're halfway time and we're talking about the Sovereign Tech Fund. So I think that's actually pretty good. Anybody, Ulysses, do you want to start the update? Maybe, or I mean, I can, but I've been talking too much already.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looked like maybe mic problems.
Oh yeah.
Let me see if I can unmute you.
I know.
Oh,
I just checked.
Yeah, I never claimed ownership of the meeting. One sec, maybe I can do that. Or maybe, yeah, John, you were also on the previous meeting, so do you want to maybe start a recap and I'll go look for the pin to be a.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Sovereign Tech Fund, fund. I spelled it wrong on the doc. Yeah, I mean, we haven't signed any contracts yet on the stuff. We just met with the foundation folks just earlier to ask more questions about how it will work and whatnot. They do like, basically, there's a lot of stuff we should talk about as a group, as a TC, for how we want to run it, how we like who wants to take what milestones and stuff like that. So I think that's probably a broader discussion that I'm not sure we'll get into right now. But yeah, I mean, TLDR is it looks like we do have more time still to sign contracts and to figure out who will work on what and whatnot. So that was our big takeaway from it was they were like, all right, we'll figure out, like who's going to be working on stuff, and then before anybody signs any contracts, essentially. I think it's like quarterly that we would ideally provide, like, hey, like this is what we're going to be like. It's a quarterly contract, I believe. Like this quarter, this person will be working on this thing. But yeah, got it, John.
Yeah, that's something I think we didn't raise during the call, and I'm just thinking of it now that we discussed is seems like on my side, like for the quarterly thing would be if we are doing work based on time spent, not, and I think Ulysses mentioned that in the call earlier on saying on our side, it's not time spent, but milestone achieved. So I don't think, or I think on our side, it will be weirder to say, hey, let's get 20 or 25% of that milestone during that month. Whereas on our side, it seems to be a lot more. Let's have 100% when a milestone is agreed that it's finished on everything. So I'm not really sure on our side we'll have, January will be 5,000, will be 5,000 in February, March, but it will mostly be a chunk of something every time. Yep, John.
Yeah, I don't know if Ulysses can answer more of that, but one of the interesting things that at least I learned during the thing is like you have the option. It's someone that contracts with someone that signs up for a contract with the thing. You have the option to preemptively bill so that people can get paid as they are doing the work, and the OpenJS will float basically the money versus just being like, hey, 12 months from now, once all this stuff is done, because the STF will release funds once the milestone is completed, but the OpenJS is they're comfortable, and what they normally do would be to allow people to invoice in between and stuff. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like super flexible. I mean, that was my feeling like after the meeting, like we have like a lot of options into the moving pieces in terms of splitting workload, in terms of how we want to handle. Also, on the other hand, seems like start to making a lot of sense as we are going to be a lot of people involved to have like a PM role person for this. So that's also something to worth discussing because probably that part of the role is not defined yet in the proposal. It might get some percentage fee, whatever you want to name it, from the all milestones or something like that, right? To make it sense. So that person can have dedicated time for that. Which is going to happen, right, with all the quarterly reports and coordinations and tons of things. Not sure how we want to proceed with that. I mean, first of all, if we are all agree on that need, and the second is defining who going to be that or what's the process for that, right? But I think those are two separate topics independently, actually.
So it's not exactly responding to that, but I was actually thinking about it, especially since we were talking about it earlier. I think we should start either an RFC or what if we want these, the ADR format, to ask these questions, to make sure that we're not just doing this on the meeting, which is like generally inaccessible, to make, so I think it like the decision making in the open for especially this kind of stuff, should be done in that way. So I would personally propose that we take that question, like, do we need a PM, and if so, who, and open one. And then I think we also probably need to, because we've done some of these discussions in the private TC channel. I think there's some level of it that we will need to at some point move to the public channel. So I think there's certain sensitive stuff to talk about that we couldn't talk all in public until we were, getting approved and all that. Or I say couldn't. It seemed inadvisable. It's not, maybe we could do this all in the public in the future. It's not, we're not trying to keep any secrets or anything. It's just like, this is the first time the project has tried to do, any sort of contracts legally. And so we wanted to make sure that we were being sensitive and not accidentally trying to do something publicly that needs to be better done. Just preliminary discussions. But I just want to make sure that we don't spend too long in that mode, and that we are like really being, true to the public open source, nature of the project. So I just like to figure out how we can then take those conversations and make sure that they're being done healthily, in the public.
Also, to make it clear, like so far yet we don't have that granted at all, right? So it's like part of the process. I mean, we are making all the proposal and rethinking and so on, but yeah, we still have some weeks ahead, even a couple of months until we are clear on if it's going to happen, and based on that, what's going to happen, right? So yeah, that's just saying that because for the people who are watching this after to make the full sense. So that's why we have a lot of open questions at this stage, right?
Yeah, and I'll add too, because I see Blake's here, and like we didn't decide anything. I think I walked away from that meeting with more questions, basically. Not that I went into, but like we basically realized like, okay, we still have time. Nobody's claimed milestones, and we don't know who's going to be working on what exactly yet. So one of the big things we did talk about was like how, will we make sure this work gets done, et cetera, et cetera. But so yeah, just in terms of like, we didn't come out of that meeting with people signing anything or any of the milestones which are being proposed having been claimed or anything like that. So we didn't make any decisions in there because we also just were like, yep, we don't know yet how that's going to work. So we're not gonna figure that out yet. But that stuff is, we'll have to figure out as the TC, who's available to work on what stuff, basically, who wants to.
Yeah, and just to recap as well, I think one of the themes was like, let's figure out how we're going to structure the work, because when we are operating in our normal mode here, we're very unstructured. It's a loose, we're all volunteers and it's a loose collaboration. This will be the first time the project has entered into a contract, and the contract is with a government. So there's like a fair bit of difference around how we operate, that we're going to have to address as a team. But I think the like consensus we had on that meeting, but feel free to raise other points or disagree or whatnot, was that the goal here is to keep things moving forward and to do that in a more healthy way with more time, and more attention. And so like the general goal of taking this funding is to help people drive these initiatives. So driving an initiative doesn't necessarily mean making all the decisions. It doesn't necessarily mean writing all the code. Actually, ideally, it probably doesn't involve either of those things. But it should be being responsible to make sure we deliver what we said we're going to deliver to the German government. And so like there's a lot of ambiguity in that, like we don't even have the milestone. We have the milestones, we don't have the deliverables, right? So like when we actually go sign the contract, it's going to be for some deliverables. Those deliverables intentionally are set up so they can change throughout the year. So for example, if we have a milestone and we get a lot of folks organized around it, and we get the work done much earlier, that's actually a great outcome, right? Because the goal is to move the project's, goals forward. And that might mean that we change the deliverables, and that would then impact the way the contract gets signed. But that again is a good outcome. We really want to promote contributions, right? And so this isn't, we shouldn't be siloing, or the person who signs up for the milestone is the leader, directly responsible individual, but it's that person is beholden to the principles of the project more than anything else. So we need to make sure we're really like living the governance and working toward bringing contributors in, even if that means the deliverables you had thought might be the ones we do next 3 months, like all got done via community PRs. That's actually like a big positive. That's a big win, right? For the project and for us all. So that to me was, I think, one of the bigger like points that we all sort of centered around as the conversation went on that previous discussion. And so with that, I guess, do folks have questions about this? Do we have any, like, we do have to organize the next round of work, which is agreeing that we all pretty much agreed on that call that we think we need a PM, but I think we need to do it in a more formal setting. And then who that would be. And then the next step would be then taking, maybe they can go in parallel. I'm not actually sure. I have an opinion on that. But then finding who's going to sign up for each of the milestones, and then agreeing to, on what, I think we probably need a little bit more agreement on what those really mean. So like we should probably like dig in just the next level on, like, we say that milestone, like what would be the deliverables to make sure that people are in agreement, and then also to figure out, make sure the people who are volunteering for this are, the way I phrased it, for better or worse here, was the most effective at delivering it. So that is a holistic thing, not just do they have the technical skills? It also includes, do they have the skills to work with the community on accepting the contributions that would move it forward? Do they have the time to invest in it, right? Like the person could be the most technically competent in the world and not be, committed enough to be able to do it. And that person should not be the one that leads that initiative, right? So like we need to, as a group, make sure we as the TC agree. And again, avoiding a vote at all costs here. So let's try to work together to make sure that we do that. But we also have a timeline here. So, these are we need to hit the timeline, but also again, ideally, form a consensus around it. So to me, those are the next two things. I know that was a long-winded way to say the second one, but the second one is pick people to actually be the ICs or DRIs or whatever we want to call them for the milestones. Does anybody have any other stuff on that we might need to do next? Or questions? Yeah, go ahead, Blake.
Do we have any time to spend reviewing the actual milestones and making sure they're accurate? Or like best defined?
I think is defined. I mean, as far we have like a some period until the 22nd of this month if we got some queries from their side, I think, regarding the milestone stuff like that, or if we want to make something extraordinary changing. But in general line seems like it's technically approved. So if we want to do some changes there, changing the scope or making bigger changes, maybe it's a little bit tricky. So yeah, I think, and also that as they are written right now, which is kind of wild scope, we have a lot of freedom on how to make that actually achievable and concrete and so on. So it might be more easy than it seems like in terms of how we are going to make that something feasible and, like any kind of workload, right? That makes sense. Right now it's like a milestone idea, basically. But yeah, so direct answer to that, I would say like probably not, but we might ask to Ben and Robin if there is any possibility yet to make changes.
Yeah, I think we have until the 22nd, I think, to get clarification from the SDF and stuff like that. But also, one of the things too is like we have milestones right now. We don't have what we will actually deliver specifically within it. So there's a lot of wiggle room to define what those are. I believe. Rather, I think we have more wiggle room there to be like, cool, we're going to improve security and performance, and here's how we're going to do that. Basically, I think we need to do that stuff next as part of it.
Yeah, and so that I was gonna say that, and remember that's not, we don't even have to do that by the 22nd. That's like an ongoing thing. I think we do that quarterly when we sign each quarter's contract. So it's something we can roll with as we go forward. I also wanted to add that they are specifically broad to make sure that we can adjust things within them. So we don't want to like necessarily shrink the scope of them. We probably don't want to increase the scope either, but we want to be very careful about like making sure we're not setting a milestone that then will have literally zero work because we accidentally set it too narrow or something like that. And then I wanted to ask Blake, if you have specific concerns, I would love for us to like air them, and then we can decide if we need to discuss them early or not. But Chris, you know, I don't know if you want to go first, then we can. Now that Blake's hands.
Definitely. The best thing to do here is bring this out of the realm of hypothetical. Put pen to paper on what you're talking about, what you had in mind, and if you could do that within the next week or so, that's really going to go a long way, because until we know exactly what you're talking about, it's hard to say whether or not it's within scope or out of scope, or whether it changes things too much. My feeling is that probably the answer to your question is yes, it's fine, but like I said, try and put that to paper, and precisely what you mean, and whether that's iterating whatever milestones or whatever you had in mind, get that down, and then especially before the 22nd, and we can reconcile that. But I think it should be fine.
Okay. Would you prefer I write it, or should I just bring it up now? I mean, it's just one milestone in particular, which is milestone 2, I think.
Writing it
It's
and saying it is both would be great. I mean,
well, they're good, but also when you say milestone 2, could you say the thing? Because I personally haven't memorized them, and I think for the call, yeah, it'd be good.
I hopefully I did not get the wrong one, because this was like 2 weeks ago when I read it, but it was the one that moving everything to Express.js scope seems a bit extreme. At least every package I maintain is not related to Express. And I assume we also don't want to, move Express to Express.
I think I just eked you out, Chris, just a second. So on the hand order, I also had some concerns around that, and I was hoping maybe we could just tweak the wording to try to get us closer to the reality, which would be like assess the naming of our packages and the different ways we publish them. Or I'm totally spitballing here. I don't think that's good wording, but like some form of it where what we're trying to do there is we're trying to disambiguate what the project owns from what we don't own, and the scope within which those packages apply, so that there's a little bit more of a security audit trail around it, and a little bit more of an expectation of maintenance that is that users can see. Again, I'm brainstorming here. We should refine these words and have a more clear proposal.
Sorry, I'm just going to interject, because I think that probably everybody shares the concern. I think it's written clumsily and very broadly, and I don't think that I don't think it means literally what it says in the tin. It is more of like a general organizational blah blah. So yeah, I think that does need work. But I also think let's talk about that later, because there's only 10 minutes left.
Yeah. So, but let's make sure we do talk about it though, like, because this is, I think, an important one to do before.
Yeah. No, and we also don't want to do things like have a well-known NPM package that is no longer at the thing that it's supposed to be at, and then you deal with all the ramifications there, have to end up like typo squatting, not typo, but squatting, and all that fun stuff. So yeah.
Okay, I think we're all pretty aligned that we need to refine that specific one. Does anybody have any other ones they're concerned about, just to make sure we follow up? Okay. We'll follow up with that one and then we can move on. Anybody have anything less to say there? Since we only have 10 minutes. Okay. Messages. Yeah, okay. As long as we're good to make sure that we all agree, we want to just follow up with them before the 22nd. We'll try to massage them to be a bit better. Okay. Okay. Next one.
Also,
yeah,
just to also make it super clear, like that's the high level document stuff. The what's going to happen is when anybody signs up to do whatever they're signing up to do, your contract comes with a statement of work, and that's going to be the thing that is more specific on the stuff that you are actually committing to get done for whatever recompense. So it could happen that this entire milestone is not even in there. Like I'm just saying purely for the sake of conversation.
I also, now that it's so easy to keep going on forever. I also wanted to add, remember that the person who's signing up for this is not solely responsible for all the work and whatnot, but that doesn't mean that they are the decision maker for the project. We still have the consensus model. We still have everything our governance has around this, right? All the things that we've done to make sure that's going to be healthy, 100% apply. So when we talk about like the statement of work and then those deliverables, if you sign up to be the person doing that and the rest of the TC disagrees, we have to work toward consensus to make sure that those are the things we want. So like say we do the scope thing, you know, and we then make the person who signs up for that one makes a technical proposal that the rest of the TC disagrees with, or even one, we have to work through the normal process. We're not circumventing any of the normal pieces that we have. So that's just to make sure everybody understands that this is a part of the project, not something that sits aside it or above it or any of that. Okay, sorry, I said we would move on and then I, continued to go. Okay, are we good to talk about the Cloudflare account? Okay, Ulysses, you started this, so maybe you want to talk about where the impetus for talking about this came from?
Yep. Yeah, basically, let me recap this fast. So we have this ongoing discussion with the Linux infra team who are providing us infrastructure support. Between the infrastructure support that we are thinking on 1Password, we are thinking on the helping us a little bit on the second factor on NPM potentially. We are thinking about the email mess that we have with the aliases and all of this stuff. We are also discussing if we need dedicated hardware for the performance of Express and stuff like that, which is a different thing. And one of the hot topics on this is we have an issue right now with the website because we cannot enforce the HTTPS on GitHub pages. Basically, that is the one serving that because we need to make some changes on the domain at the DNS level to make this kind of authentication kind of thing or whatever. So the thing is, we need to clarify who is the owner of this, and Wes has been doing a very hard and very good job on a perfect time, which is the Collab Summit, for finding out who owns that. So basically, just to clarify for those who are watching this, I mean, the domains are under control on the foundation. The only thing that the piece is missing is like the Cloudflare DNS configuration, which is under the control of IBM, basically, and the idea from the times of a Storm Group, and the idea is to find who is owning that right now, so we can just add the new admins and basically just make modifications on the registry. That's all. But yeah, general lines is under control. We just want to make some changes and clarify ownership.
Yeah, and make sure that it's future-proofed as well, because I think that's the problem, is that it was not future-proofed in the past, and that's why we're in this state. It got tossed around and lost in the shuffle. So we're working toward that. So we've talked with James at Cloudflare, James Snell. He's put us in contact with a bunch of people. We have an email. We can post some details, we can post all the details to the TC chat. I thought I did start doing that actually, but maybe I missed. I'll have to go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's like a private DM with a lot of people there. That's why, because there were people not from the TC involved on this, from the Node.js infra, basically. Yeah, also like the final picture of this is like we are going to have the Linux Foundation IT team helping us. We will still have the control of the thing. So I mean, we can raise a ticket for asking things like, please update this DNS record, or we will have also the admin rights to do that. That's going to be the, I mean, we need to find and shape this, but basically that's the idea, right? So we have the option to just delegate this completely or having some control and support. So probably we are going to have to control and support option just because it's more easy for us to do things like on the domains and basically that's all the critical infra. Basically in terms of whatever, we don't have a lot of machines or stuff like that, right? So that's it.
Yeah, that I just wanted to make sure we got that one point clear. We actually have a bit of a choice. Well, we think we have a choice here. And so one of the questions I wanted to raise for the group was what do we see as the ideal for this type of infra? Do we want to own it, which would be meaning we have the login and we may share it with the foundation, but primarily we're managing it. Nobody else is managing it. We would be the ones doing it. Or the alternative other side here would be we fully hand it off to the Linux IT group, which would mean that changes we want to make would be tickets to them. And so I think we have to explore this and make sure we're clear on it, but there's probably a choice for us to make here. And I know I have opinions, but I wanted to make sure we discuss, like, if anybody has a really strong opinion, we should raise that very early in the discussion with Linux IT to make sure that we, have what we need. Also, because the Fastify people were a little bit worried about this. I was chatting with one of them on Twitter about it, and or maybe it was Blue Sky, I can't remember, but they were concerned that they were losing the ability to manage the DNS. And so I had said, like, okay, well, let's make sure we have clarity there first. But for our group, I wanted to make sure we didn't sign up for something that you all, disagree with.
Yeah, just to clarify, we had the same process on the Node.js project time ago. Me as a member of the build team, we have like a lot of infra machines and millions of things. And the thing is now we still to be the owners of that pieces, and they have administrative access and admin access as well, and they are providing us support. So we basically collaborate and delegate some tasks, and we take ownership and we collaborate and coordinate things like, for example, I don't know, macOS new infrastructure and things like that, right? So that because it's more easy and more agile, but yeah, we still to be owning all the infra anyway, and they can help us at any time.
I don't sorry, I didn't raise my hand, but nobody else had a hand up. I don't know enough about what the requirements are of the cloud, like what the responsibilities are or anything, but if it's, generally speaking, I'd say if it's low hanging fruit, like easy for us to manage, there's enough people that I don't think you need the additional Linux Foundation IT folks involved. If it's like, if you're literally talking about like DNS records and stuff like that, then
I think,
and I certainly wouldn't want us to be beholden to like having to submit tickets, or to be fair, I have no idea how efficient or or not that they are, so I can't really speak to like their IT team.
I think that they've given us the option. I think TLDR is that the foundation needs break glass on like or bus factor, so they need
That's
and they need, I think we have the option. I was in that meeting with Ulysses, and basically it's like I think other projects they just have like one of the foundation accounts. I forget if it's OpenJS or Linux, but has an admin on their account just so that they have break glass basically. So.
Right.
Yeah. But TLDR is like, that's IP that should have been transferred to the foundation and apparently never was. So,
okay.
Just to give a full picture, this is also part of a different STF contract that is in place, and it's basically normalizing and auditing and helping all the infrastructure across all the projects. So that's why we are now on this point, because now it's like a large project, and before was impact project, and they continue on. So basically it's like understanding what the project has, if they can manage or not, if they need help or not, and this kind of thing. So basically that's it. So it's already like kind of covered. But yeah, that's why we are at this stage now.
Okay, so we're at time. We can probably bump this APM stuff till later. So I think if folks are all right doing that, we could maybe move on to Chris's private session really quick. And then so that means unfortunately folks who are not on the security triage side, we'll ask you to drop. Oh wait, Ulysses, did I see a hand or was that a thumbs up? I'm sorry. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Was
thumbs.
We must stop the recording at some point as well.
And we have to, and I have I made sure I got ownership so we can stop the recording as well. Okay, so see you all later. Thank you so much for the good meeting, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody.